I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Calvadas?
Here.
Mr. Pappas?
Here.
Mrs. Passio?
Here.
Mrs. Moore? Here. Mr. White?
Here.
Mrs. Kelly? Here. Mr. Root?
Here.
Mr. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Masor?
Here.
And Mr. Wood.
Here. What's your reading statement?
Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. One, posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January the 7th, 2013. Emailed to the retrospect and current post on January 7th, 2013. Can I have a motion to approval of minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
173.
72.
172. This time,
Joyce, you want to read the resolution 172?
We're changing the order of the...
Yeah.
Yes, let us do the same.
Resolution 13172 is a resolution confirming 2013 appointment, and that's appointing Matthew Willen as a special police officer.
Make a motion to approve.
I second that.
all those in favor?
Aye. Roll call.
Roll call.
As soon as I find one. Here, I have one. Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
That's 6 ayes.
I move this resolution now is adopted.
We're going to bring out the ordinance for you. The mayor's.
What do you do, Matt?
Raise your right hand.
I, Matthew Moore,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state
and in the state,
under the authority
under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
and I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of the office
perform all the duties of the office.
of, say, police officer,
Police officer,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
and that I will not use my office
to grant preferential treatment,
to grant preferential treatment,
nor to seek personal gain,
nor to seek personal gain,
favor,
favor,
or advantages
or advantages
not available to the general public.
not available to the general public.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Go ahead. I didn't know you were.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome. Which,
We have the report of the instruction official for the month of November, a total of $7,397 was collected for various private fees, CAs, all monies were turned over to the treasury. We have the report of the borough clerk for the month of November, a total of $4,711.30 was collected for various permits and licenses. All monies were returned over to the treasurer. For the report of the registrar of Vital Statistics for the month of November, the total of $2,176 was collected for death copies, marriage copies, and marriage licenses. All monies were returned over to the treasurer. For the report of the municipal court for the month of October, a total of $12,575.18 was collected, and all monies were returned over to the treasurer. For the report of the police department for the month of November, a total of $168.10 was collected for accident discovery, solicitor, and the reports, and the request, and $23 in firearm permits. All monies were returned over to the treasurer. I have a report of the fire marshal for the month of November. A total of $2,825 was collected in fire fees. There were 87 inspections completed, 1,486 incidents, 2 Type 1 permits issued, and emergency medical fees collected, $21,744.07. All monies were returned over to the treasurer. I will report of the tax collector for the month of November. A total of $2,922,110.96 was collected in taxes, and $28,291.49 was collected in sewer rentals. We also had the tax sale on November 14th, and we sold everything except for 2 lots which have already been redeemed. So we have no municipal liens from this sale. And we collected quite a bit of money in premiums, over almost $400,000, $378,000 in premiums, which we get to hold for a period of time. But all in all, went very
That
well.
was, can I have a
That's all I have.
motion? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
How about a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Communications, Joyce?
The first, the only communication we have is from Andrew Viola. It's a letter requesting mayor and council consider him for the position of prosecutor for 2014.
The motion?
I so move.
Anybody second it?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There was, what was the term, waiting out, the driver for the train? Wait, I don't know.
Nothing here.
Ordinance 1320, this is an ordinance to release, vacate, and extinguish any all public rights in and to a portion of Detmar Terrace, subject to certain terms and conditions. This portion of the meeting is open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter and this matter only should step up to the microphone and give their name and address.
Seeing no one, did you want? Sorry.
John Kelly, 756 West 3rd. What's it mean?
You want to answer?
I'm sorry, what's it?
What's it mean?
It's a paper street.
Is that the one between Hurst and Center?
Yes.
What are they doing with it?
Well, the borough is vacating. It's not going to be used as a street. Hasn't been used as a street ever. So what happens when the...
You want to make it an easement to the
No,
house?
no, let me finish, please. When a borough or a town vacates a street, what happens is that the adjoining property owners all own a piece. So there's 4 people, as I recollect. So their property line actually technically goes to the middle of the street already, strangely enough. So they're each getting that additional lane because the street's being vacated.
What happened to me, I lived in Glendora.
Oh, there you go.
They did the same thing, but only they gave my parents the property.
Well, the property, if this is passed, those neighbors, those 4 people will own a section of that
Okay,
property.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion. Anyone else? Okay,
Seeing no one else, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Motion to adopt on second and final reading and advertise according to law. Roll.
Oh, it's made motion.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Passios.
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Klein's?
Yes.
6 ayes.
Adopted.
Can I just have a quick question, Mr. When do they actually, we do have to record this at this point?
Yes, now you said it, to be recorded in
Sounds-
the book of vacated streets, we would not ask, that's what it's called.
When should we inform the,
You can inform them tomorrow.
we can inform the property owner?
Committee reports, finances, personnel, administration, Nick.
Thank you. The finance, the RFP, the request for proposals for our professional services has been sent out for next year's appointments. And we do, I think, on December 15th. We're looking at a more long-term financial goals. Each department has needs, roads, vehicles, equipment, and more, and we are in the process of prioritizing these needs and understanding their future financial goals. Under personnel, as you can see this evening, we replaced a Class 2 officer. This brings our allowable maximum strength back up to 4 officers. The Public Safety Committee had interviewed and approved, as well as the administrative prior, so let's take this action this evening. Tonight on the agenda is authorizing holiday pay for our EMTs. There are 13 holidays that need coverage, and this will fairly compensate those employees who work on those days at a time and a half rate. Interviews for the front office employee will be getting started to replace the personnel needed. This will be a part-time position in the finance department. We will be reviewing each department's personnel needs and structure, just as we've already done in the police department. We were reviewing our borough policies along with our personnel documents, rules, and regulations to improve their effectiveness and clarity. Under administration, the committees for next year will stay the same. At this time, stay the same. The directors with some minor changes. We are working on our calendar for next year. At this point, we will continue to have our council meetings at 7 p.m. and the caucus meetings at 6 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. Caucus will change to a discussion format, which we tried at the last month's meeting, and it worked very well. It'll be the first Tuesday for council meetings and the fourth Tuesday for caucus. At this time, this is what we're discussing. It is, the fourth Tuesday would be a slight change because some months have 5 Tuesdays. And this way, I think it might be helpful to our professionals who count on a weekly schedule every fourth. Still a discussion, it's not, has not been done. On a larger issue, we've begun an ordinance improvement initiative. We will be working with our zoning officer, our planner, and our planning board to improve, replace, add, or eliminate ordinances as recommended. Last month, we received a letter from the planning board to change the ordinance to allow for drive-through restaurants and outdoor dining. These types of improvements will allow our local businesses to grow and attract new businesses, that we previously turned away from our community. We have heard from all these professionals and our residents, and we realize the need to make these changes. So just as you can see, it's a little bit of an outline of the future, but these committees, they have been working, the caucus meetings have been working, and I think we can look forward to doing things. There are a few other items on the meeting tonight. As we get to them, we can go over them. There's a few ordinance changes also for this evening. Other than that, progress.
Thank you. Mr. White?
Thank you, Mayor. This time I have nothing to report, no report progress.
Howard Kelly?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, tonight we added a young man to our police force, Matthew Woolen. He was sworn in, and we are glad to have him on board. He is a very dedicated young man. He's 27 years old, a resident of Runnemede all his life, and he's going to be a very committed and dedicated police officer. He'll be second class. And eventually, hopefully, who knows, if he is successful, we'll be looking at perhaps a full-time position for him. Our police were busy this month. We had moving violations, 78. We had 35 motor vehicle crashes that they had to investigate. They made 76 arrests this month. They had some overtime,
And that was because we had to replace one of the officers who was on vacation, and another officer had to replace him at Triton. So we did have a little high overtime this month, but hopefully that'll be cured in the future. And year-to-date arrests were 1,312. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Pat?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Engineering, I will rely on Mark to give his engineering report. Public events. On Sunday, December 1st, our residents gathered around for the lighting of our Christmas tree and watched as our parade of fire trucks moved along the Black Horse Pike. Our tree is now large and bright and has a star on the top. It will be lit every evening for the Christmas holidays. I have a list of winners of the fire departments that won the contest for best dressed of their fire trucks. Collingswood Fire Department, their engine was first place. East Pennsauken Firemen's Association, their engine was second place. Oakland Fire Department, squad rescue first place. Barrington Fire Department, squad rescue second place. Barrington Fire Department, their ladder truck was first place. Westmont Fire Company #1, judges overall. And Audubon Park Fire Department for their float utility brush. Also, Santa and Mrs. Claus came into town on their sleigh that night, pulled by Rudolph and his reindeers. They greeted and spent time with all the children and their families, giving out lots of gifts and candy canes. They took lots of pictures and had fun, and fun was had by all. Santa and Mrs. Claus asked me to tell everyone, thank you for such a warm welcome. They had a great time with the children and their parents. A special thank you from me and my committee to everyone for your help, to those who attended. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas to all and hope Santa brings you blessings and joy and all that you need. And as we step into the new year, may your fears fade away, your strengths be renewed, and your dreams come true. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Pat. Mike?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Park and Recreations is currently working right now on the ADA parking at the RYAA. Everything's moving smoothly. It's starting to look great. It's great to see some work being done over there. We're working with Belmar as a part of our shared service, and I really feel this is going to make a lot of the untouchable projects, in our reach now. We also were working with Bach Engineering, moving forward with our long-term projects at the RYAA, and fence and field replacement. We also will be taking a hard look at proper techniques of maintaining all of our new changes at the field, so they don't quickly get out of control. We want to maintain it. Make all this money we're putting into the fields worth it. Close to finalizing bleachers and goals down for Green Acres. Got a couple price adjustments I'm waiting on. Hopefully they're in our favor, so that's good. I also talked to two members of our girls softball, Runnemede girls softball, Joe Roberts and Craig Lieberstein, about the complaint we had last month on the fields being locked down at the softball. They both got back to me really quick, and their point of view is that they have a limited amount of help there. They prepare the fields the night before or the morning of the games, so by locking them, it preserves the fields for the girls to just go out and play. They also had concerns with vandalism and insurance qualifications. So I looked into a lease. I was not able to find a written lease to softball, so we're preparing a new lease for the RYAA, so we'll probably start preparing a lease for softball too, and get that all handled out in the near future. And the rest is progress, Mayor.
Beverly?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to report that a much-needed 6-foot commercial grade security fence has been placed around the pump station at the end of Orchard Avenue. It's not been a problem with really any type of vandalism. It's just the kids were swinging on the big crane, and it's just a place that they can hang out, so now we'll limit their access to the pump station itself. They're also gonna place ballards across the entrance so that no vehicles can drive down in towards where the woods are there. The kids will still have access to cut through the woods so that they can get to school, so that's not gonna impede anything for them, so it's definitely a step in the right direction. It was reported at caucus, I believe Joyce reported for me, that they have pulled the pads for the generators for both of the pump stations in town that were missing generators. That's one at 3rd, right by Detmar, as well as the one on Forest Avenue. So the pads have been poured. Quite honestly, I'm not 100% that they've been placed yet, but they should be placed probably within the next week. The banners along the Black Horse Pike that were put up by families and individuals have been removed. They've been taken down. The period of time was a 3-year contract. I believe it was 3 years that they could be in place. They've been well past that. So I encourage anyone to contact me that had a banner there. I'll be happy to make sure that it gets returned to the family as well as the individual. The mayor's already got theirs. So they do have them in Public Works, and they're being maintained, so we'll make sure that everybody gets them back. I have ordered new banners to go on the pike. They are winter banners, and I'm hoping that we will have a change of season each time with a new banner. These will stay up all through winter. They're just very generic. They have a very cute little snowman on them, so they will be a nice accent with the wreaths that are already up there. And on the topic of the wreaths, yes, there are bows coming for the wreaths, because I've had people question if there are bows for them. There are bows. We were short on the amount of bows, and we have a supplier that is going to help us out greatly and deliver them to us with no cost. So that was an awesome thing. Leaves continue to be the focus in town. I am happy to report that we went through the holiday without any complaints, no problems with anybody complaining about parking, because we have been on top of it. The guys have gone above and beyond from Public Works. They've stayed late to make sure that the streets are clear, and they will continue to make sure that the leaves get picked up. With that being said, I want to also encourage anybody. We did have a couple of minor incidents with the leaf machine and residents' vehicles, unfortunately. So I ask that in the spirit of cooperation with the residents and Public Works, that with the up and coming change of the season and the impending snow, I encourage, if you have a driveway, please try to park your vehicle in the driveway if it's at all possible, to keep it off the street, to make access for them to clear anything, whether it's leaves or snow. It just helps to move things along. It's the little tiny things that make a huge impact to try to keep things clear. We're continuing to replace signage around town. If people are aware, if you see a sign that's in disrepair or really in bad shape or has been vandalized, please let us know. We'll place it on the list to try to make sure that they get ordered. I know that a street light outage report was submitted to me by the police department. That, to the best of my knowledge,
It was emailed
it was
today.
emailed today, because I got it yesterday.
And
So they'll be attending to that.
It'll be attended to by the end of the week.
Awesome. And those are street lights, not just the decorative poles on the pike, those are street lights throughout the town. Other than that, I'll say business as usual, and with Councilman Passio, happy holidays to everybody. I look forward to continued progress for 2014. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor. I just wanted to tell Bev that I did get a compliment on the leaves. They stated that they were driving through Haddonfield and Haddon Heights, and the leaves were higher than the cars. So, and they said nothing was like that in our town.
That's
So,
perfect. Thank you. I
Good job.
appreciate that.
And I got phone calls from people that live in Belmar saying they love the decorations on the pike at night. They look beautiful.
It's not even done.
But that, I mean, we're getting phone calls.
We're getting there. We're getting there. It's gonna be better.
It's a nice thing that people
Yeah.
call you.
I'm always up for a compliment in any way, shape, or form. I'll take it.
Richard Wright, Administration.
Just going to stand on my report from caucus and say it was wonderful helping every single one of you out with those projects.
Thank you.
I would like to send a special thanks out to my staff right now. We made some personnel changes last month, and we have a position pending. Everyone stepped up to the plate in finance, and everybody's doing a great job.
Thank you, Richard. That was nice. Solicitor.
Nothing new from my caucus report.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Engineer report on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also went over my report at the Cox meeting, but just to refresh some things, we're trying to close out some of the current construction projects. So we have 8 short change orders on tonight's docket. And Mike talked about the work we're doing out down at RYAA with the short term and long term. So I don't need to go into that. And we're getting ready to put the emergency generator out to bid for this building. That'll probably be sometime in the middle of December, and we'll leave it, the bid opening for a while because of the holidays. We'll probably have a mid-January bid opening for that. And other than that, progress has been made.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I know, I don't know really who to get the answer from, so I'm coming to you. I know that we got, I guess, all the specifications that we needed to get new doors in front of the Borough Hall. Do you have any idea what the status is with that?
We had gotten a quote, and I thought Pat Moriarty was working on it.
Right, he got me a quote, but I was really unclear because quite honestly, I had spoken to him, and I think one of the quotes was to replace the doors but keep the existing jamb, and then the second quote, I think, was to replace the entire thing.
Okay.
But I think everyone was kind of giving me the direction that it was coming back to you guys
Okay. I
as where it was. If you could just let me
Yes,
know,
I'll
I really
do
want to
that.
try to get it done.
I know
It
Steve
looks bad.
Bach and our architects were handling that.
Right.
And got pushed over to
Okay.
Pat,
Just
but
let me
I'll
know.
find out so we can
Okay.
get that taken care of.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Old business. Public comments? Agenda?
This portion of the meeting is open to the public. If anybody wants to speak about any of the items we're going to be voting on, this is an opportunity to come up and speak about those. Seeing no one, I make a motion to close the public portion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All resolutions?
You can talk some of these up. You can do all the change orders. However,
Something,
sure. What change?
first one's in the,
Yeah, the first one is its own thing. The second one is
if everyone's in agreement with the change orders, we can put that together.
Yeah, we can count them all at one time.
Yeah.
Like 60, to whatever number.
Yeah, well, let's do 60 first.
Resolution 13160 is a resolution authorizing an agreement between the Animal Welfare Society and the Borough of Runnemede for kennel shelter service.
I make a motion.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mrs. Kelly? Yes. Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pascal?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Provaz?
Yes.
6 ayes. Resolution 13161 is a resolution canceling taxes per NJSA 54-330 at SEC, and that's the 100% permanently and totally disabled veteran as a result of wartime service. There are 2 on this resolution that Brian has approved.
I second that motion.
Roll call.
Mrs. Kelly? Yes. Mrs. Passia?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Provaz?
Yes.
I declare this resolution is adopted.
Okay, resolution 13162 through 13169 are change orders for contracts that we have. Everybody received the resolutions explaining it?
Yes.
Can I have a motion on all that?
I so move.
I second that.
I'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pascal?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
And Mr. Provaz?
Yes.
I declare that all those resolutions are adopted.
He's going to down
You have to set-
Yes. Resolution 13170 is a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding to transfer specific radio equipment purchase for the 70 megahertz conversion for the police department. 700.
I make a motion to approve.
I second that motion.
Roll call.
Mrs. Keller? Yes. Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pasio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Six ayes.
I declare this resolution is now adopted.
Resolution 13171 is a resolution requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation. This is chapter 159, balance to the, this is the recycling tonnage grant for 2011.
Is that what that is, just $8,000?
Can I have a motion?
I so move. I'll second that.
Roll call.
Mrs. Pasio?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
And Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I declare that this resolution is now adopted.
Resolution 13173 is a resolution authorizing holiday pay for EMT.
I make a motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Ed. Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pasio?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
And Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I declare this resolution is now adopted.
Resolution 12-74, that was an addition here on the table. This was something that Len approved this afternoon. This is the approval of a surety bond for the Lux Bakery, a performance bond.
This is for the
For
fund.
what they're building. This is what the engineers recommended.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pasio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
6 ayes.
I declare this resolution now is adopted.
And there's another resolution that Rich gave us, it was after I had done the agenda, that's a transfer of appropriations. And we're out of transfer now in November for the 2013 budget.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to transfer the funds.
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Pasio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
I declare this resolution is now adopted.
The next is first reading for ordinance 1321. This is an ordinance amending certain provisions of the code of the Borough of Runnemede relating to garbage and rubbish collection. That's one thing.
If the needle
There's
issue
also
also
about the placement of containers.
Oh. This is what we went over the caucus meeting.
This was,
Right.
This was recommended by our
Right,
zoning
what's
officer.
the find in the front yard when it comes to corner property?
We're not doing that anymore. It just says that the new line is,
What?
They can't be stored in the front yard.
corner properties have two front yards.
up to 2 front yards.
And you stood.
So it has to be in the side yard. Shall be stored in the side or rear yard of the property, in
Okay.
neat and orderly fashion.
Got it.
It can't be ticketed if it's on the side yard.
Not on the side.
Correct.
In the previous ordinance,
It did
it was,
say-
it was visible from the street, and that was a problem. Because visible from the street was a little difficult for a lot of homes in town.
So you're saying corner
property has two front yards, so facing the street, you can't have it on the side.
Yes, that's what we're saying. But the original ordinance, when we first passed it, it was just visible, which made it difficult nowhere. So corner property, yeah, there were no side yards.
And it's also the needles.
The
And it-
needles, okay, that's an issue.
These are the
The issue with this proper disposal of needs.
disposal
Oh,
needs.
yeah.
And then there's fines, but they're up to fines, so that allows us to get people.
Right, and there is a contact that they can reach out to Belmar and, correct, and they have the
They
contact.
sent me the whole packet.
It's about diabetic needles. So,
Any need.
Any needs?
well, any needles, that's true, any needles, like, to dispose of the flower.
So it's just-
Okay.
Okay? Is there any motion?
We can make a motion.
Motion to adopt on first reading?
Yeah, I make a motion to adopt on first reading and advertise according to law with public hearing to be held on the 30th day of December 2013 at a meeting beginning at 4 p.m. We're having a meeting on the 30th day of December.
Yeah.
We do that every year.
Yeah, so the
You
third,
don't have it on the third.
can't have it on the
No, the
30th.
30th. So must be.
Why not be in your seat?
And we need 2/3.
Great.
Yeah, but every year.
See how I snuck that in there?
I second.
You can't be Santa Claus. Roll call.
Mrs. Kelly. Yes. Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Cuthbert.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
And Mr. Devine.
Yes.
6-0. This ordinance 1322 is an ordinance amending certain provisions of the code of the Borough of Runnemede relating to zoning.
This is, or just to bring everybody up to speed again, this was the fences.
Yes.
We are collecting a zoning fee, not a construction fee anymore. And the zoning fee is outlined in here, at $65 for 6-foot fence. And then concrete walkways and driveways, and we've broken that in between 25 and 50. And then there was a third portion of this.
Sign.
No signs.
The sign.
Can't have the signs.
There was a size of the sign, $25. There was a temporary sign for $25.
Okay.
That's the ones for farmers.
This was all discussed at the caucus meeting, and then the shed was also.
Shed.
So this was all recommended by the zoning officer. We only, if anything, we lowered the fees. He had recommended everything being $65. We lowered those to
25, and then they can bring the signs
I
in.
have a question though, when it says like all signs, banners, streams, and, I wasn't at caucus,
$22.
and similar devices shall be approved by the construction office, does that include banners that are on the front of the building acting as a sign for that building?
Yes.
And that's a permanent thing, you can make that up permanently?
No. It's considered, it's under the temporary.
It's under temporary.
All right, so if they have a banner in front of a building, that can only be not saying like sale, saying this is the name of my company, on the banner, on the building, is that a permanent thing? Are they allowed to keep that there?
For 30 days.
And then what do they do?
They have to take it down.
And do what?
I thought they were going to be
They have
able
to
to
put
put the
permanent
signs.
They
sign.
have to put a permanent sign.
Banner's not a permanent
I
sign.
understand that, that's why I'm
So,
questioning.
banner's not a permanent sign.
Correct, so they have to put up a
And
sign.
as it says, a 30-day temporary sign permit issued.
Okay, just want to be clear, that's all.
Yeah, these were, that's the laundry list, the solicitor cleaned them all up, and that's what we're trying to do, clean up a lot of the complaints that we were getting.
Well, they already have a banner up.
That's,
They don't have a permit.
that's my thing.
They were being in violation. And Len, is that correct?
Say again?
If a temporary sign was put up previous to the ordinance, because previous to the ordinance, they were not allowed. So this ordinance actually allows them a temporary sign permit. We never allowed that.
So if they weren't previously allowed, you now notify the business owner that your sign's in violation, but you can apply for a permit. You've got, 3 days, 7 days, how much time you're gonna give them. And then let them come in and apply. And then their time will start when they get the permit straight, so even though they were in violation before that.
Yes.
Yes, they're not.
And this was a big complaint, if you remember, a lot of people complained they wouldn't allow temporary signs. So this at least gives a 30-day window.
That's what I thought. That's what-
Now, the only problem we might run into,
I'm talking about like if a business has a sign up that says this is my business and this is the permanent structure, but it's just a banner.
they cannot not consider permits.
Unless they could put the
It's
sign
like putting
up.
cardboard up and saying it's your
I
house.
get
It's
it,
not.
I get it. I'm not a
Bring the
fan.
sign in at night so don't get somebody stealing it.
Okay, so, I make a motion to adopt on first reading and advertise according to law with a public hearing to be held on the 30th day of December 2013 at a meeting beginning at 4 p.m.
I'll second.
A roll call.
Mrs. Kelly. Yes. Mrs. Moore.
Yes.
Mrs. Casio.
Yes.
Mr. Ruth.
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
And Mr. Devine.
Yes.
6-0.
Payment of bills. She's saying it's
What, excuse me, did you want to do this? It's on the yellow piece of paper. The administrator just made us aware that we received 2 grants that came in last week. And you want to make these chapter 159s?
Yes.
So that will be 176 and 177.
So to quickly explain, the first one is the bulletproof grant, bulletproof replacement grant for 2,500 and change.
For the front office?
For
First
police
one's the
officers.
body armor.
Body armor.
The body armor for 2013, this replaces the vest, I guess, at
Yes.
244081. And you want to submit these into the budget?
Right, well, we actually have quotes in process right now to replace vests, so that would actually allow us to get about 3 more, so that would be helpful. And then the other one is the DWI funds.
The alcohol education rehab fund, $474.09. So these would be 2 resolutions? Or one?
2 separate, yeah, 2 separate.
The first one is 176, is to chapter 159, to insert the body armor grant into the budget.
I make a motion.
And second that?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Money.
Mrs. Kelly? Yes. Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Papa?
Yes.
6 ayes. And resolution 13177 is a chapter 159 to insert the alcohol education grant money into the budget.
Okay. I move this resolution be adopted.
That's the old one.
No.
That's okay. 98.
I make a motion to approve the alcohol grant.
I second.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Paz?
Yes.
6 ayes.
I move this resolution is now adopted. Payment of bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Who made the
I
motion?
second. I second.
Thank you, Jack. Can we roll call?
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Paz? Mr. Paz?
Yes.
6 ayes.
This is the good and welfare portion of the meeting. Anyone wishing to speak, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Does anybody want to guess what my name and address is? Marie Panterell, 12 South Oakland Avenue. I made it more than 3 minutes because I'm here in a couple separate roles, a couple different roles. On that motion to pay the bills, is there a check for a contractor who repaired lights at the RYAA? Because I handed in the bill like 60 to 90 days ago and found out he wasn't.
What's his name?
JPK Electric.
Actually, that is in process, it's done on this list and it's on my desk. And there's a much larger story to that
Okay.
that I'm not getting into here.
Okay.
I've worked that out with Counselor and.
Okay.
So we're going to cut a separate check?
Recommend you.
It'll be dealt with, you say.
Okay.
All right. Who was responsible for the cleanup after the Christmas, the holiday function on Sunday night at the Harry Williams Building?
I know that my guys were down there today.
It is incredible.
They were down there.
When I tell you, after the beautiful decorations that were done on Sunday, I walked by there and said, there is no way that this gym is going to be ready for basketball on Tuesday. So I didn't call anybody, I didn't say anything, and I opened that door at 5:45 tonight, and there was not one piece of Christmas left. It was ready for basketball, and I think that is wonderful, because this is the first year, excuse me, this is the first year that we didn't, the teams, I mean, this is a big thing. And unfortunately, it was an organization that I'm responsible for, not one of the others that utilizes the gym, because I don't know what I would have done, but this is the first year that we didn't, bounce around Christmas trees and stuff that were still set up. It was amazing for anyone that was there on Sunday night and witnessed how beautifully decorated it was. There was a lot of decorations. Not one is there. It is incredible. I mean,
What time did basketball start?
I got there at 5:45. I was running a little, it started at 6.
You had a lot of time to clean it up.
I have to say that if you.
Not my job, Mr. Potts, but thank you.
I have to say that the people that did stay, which was maybe 3 or 4, that was Sunday night, we got out of there at 9:30. Then we came back yesterday, we cleaned up again, and we put 2 hours into that. And then last night, we started at 6, and we started at 6:30, and we ended up at 9:30.
Well,
So
anyone who had input in it, it
we
was
cleaned the bathrooms,
amazing.
and my husband actually did all the floors, so.
It was amazing. Everyone who participated in that should have a pat on the back. It was amazing. Also with regard to the Harry Williams, I'm pleased to report because I think that I'm not sure what needs to be done, but the heat was broken at Harry Williams for.
You know that.
No, it's fixed. But what I'm saying is at a rate of $25 per hour, there is a group that utilizes that gym that it was entirely too cold to host any activity in there. And so maybe for that period of time that it was down, you know, if a credit could be issued, it would make me feel better. Because when I tell you it was freezing, I met, Public Works actually met me there to give me the key because I didn't have access to the thermostat. And at the point that they met me there, they realized that the heat wasn't functioning. So the repair company was called, and it has been repaired, and it works very well now. But there was, you know, an extended period of time where, again, one of the people that utilize, one of the groups that utilizes it, you know, it was bad. I mean, it was freezing.
We'll have to
So,
sit there.
Well, we can look into it.
I listen to the attorney.
I was gonna say, we'll look into it.
Yeah, it's
I, as a resident, want to say, with regard to the phrase, a special thank you should be really, really, really given to Bernie Wilson, because that float, I got more comments that night as I stood there about that float, and I didn't hear one person mention. So as a resident in town, I have to tell you, it was incredible. It was beautiful. The way that Santa and Mrs. Claus were, you know, rolled into town this year was amazing. It was amazing. He should get an award aside from all the fire trucks, seriously. The leaves, I can't say enough, because my street, everyone decided on South Oakland Ave to rake their leaves this weekend, and at 8:03 on Monday morning, Public Works started at Conisbridge Road, and every leaf was picked up. So my compliments to everyone. It was very much appreciated.
Thank you.
You what? You're gonna put me on your list? That's okay.
Thank you.
You're on mine.
You'll never get out of there, Maria.
That's fine, Nick, you're on mine.
Oh, they have a timer.
Anyone else would like
Yeah,
to?
did I go over 3 minutes?
Okay.
Somebody let me borrow that.
Your name and address.
Val Palmisano, 831 North Oakland Avenue. I know we're looking into a temporary fix for the library.
It was reported to Kathy today. I spoke to Kathy at length today. The situation is that there is a structure that the unit has to sit on. The unit is in Mount Ephraim.
Oh,
The unit is in Mount Ephraim, but because of the age of the unit, even though it's only 10 years old or whatever, the way that that unit was installed, it was installed differently than the way units are now. So either we wait for this unit and we have to wait for this custom piece that the unit sits on, which unfortunately is coming from Wisconsin. And that area was hit by all those storms, so we're not quite sure. Do we know at this point the status? Because I was understanding that he was going to get back to somebody. No, not yet, okay. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll know the status of this base that the unit needs to sit on. The unit, and as far as, it's never an easy fix. I mean, quite honestly, I reached out to a second person to find out what the situation was, if there was like a backup plan, and they said, if it's not exactly the same unit, then you have to change all the ductwork. Everything has to change. So that's why this particular unit, we don't have to change anything. So we have to wait. Unfortunately, that's where we are. And I did speak to Kathy this afternoon and conveyed that, and she seems satisfied with it. It's an unfortunate situation.
yeah, it would be nice if it could get done like before the holiday. Because I know the kids really
I'm
use.
sure, I know they do. And we're doing everything honestly, Val, we really are. We're trying to, I mean, it's either we start from scratch with somebody else, and which probably will throw us behind even further. So, I mean, we have, the unit is right there.
We just have to
Just
get
getting
it.
it up there.
Yes, thank you.
They were using electric heaters, but it kept shorting electric off. So you can't use them, it takes too much juice.
Yeah, there's a special
Yeah.
heat that is behind, and then the line.
See, I was just ready to put it.
Mike Menz, 286 Sunset Road. A couple of things. First, if you can swing the leaf truck out to Sunset Road, that would be great. We had it, I guess it was supposed to be the day after Thanksgiving, within 2 weeks. So we've only had it once. And I don't see I guess it's a new system with the signs.
They were out Saturday. They were out Saturday. After Thanksgiving, yeah.
I think, yeah, you notice our streets are all, seem like people are putting leaves back out. I think we'll have
They're,
this
they're
next
on the
week.
list, don't worry.
Okay,
Yeah, they were finishing up, honestly, over on the west side of town. I know they were finishing that up today. They
Next
are
week
out
they
there,
come
and they have been given the direction not to stop until they're done.
I assume this leaf truck is shared among multiple
It
municipalities?
is not.
No.
It is
If you
not.
could ever swing it, because we always get the pickup on Friday, and most people work on weekends, so they break over weekends.
They break as soon as the truck comes. Then they
Okay.
they're all out there again.
Well, yeah, I know I rake on Saturday and Sunday, and if they could get picked up on Monday, they wouldn't get Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to get blown.
We all have
Just
that
to-
trouble.
Okay.
I'm on that side, your side of the pipe too.
Yeah, I feel that, drive by your house all the time.
I will try to find out what I can. I'll talk to them.
Okay,
I'll reach
just
out-
to-
I'll reach out in the morning and find out what the plan is. I know that they're not stopping until it's done.
Okay, putting on my hat as a St. Teresa student parent, who's responsible for traffic control on Evesham Avenue? Because that's, I know some of the parents park on Evesham, which doesn't help, but people think that's like a 45-mile-an-hour street, and it's just really crazy, So I don't know, is that a Runnemede Police Department responsibility? Is it the schools?
One side of the
One
street.
side is, on one side
Is
is,
Glen-
and the other side's Glenmore.
Because and I know the traffic, the crossing guard left, and, I just know my wife works there, and there was a car that drove into a house, which was unrelated to
Yeah.
traffic control, but it seems to be, it's getting scarier. It's been scary, and it's getting scarier. So if the municipal engineer could look at that as a parent, it would be
Is there an
appreciated.
officer out there as a crossing guard though?
No.
Not anymore, I don't think.
This is,
St. Teresa's there is.
excuse me, excuse me, is this the crossing, the crosswalk in front of the school that you're talking about?
Yes.
That has been brought to my attention by a number of people. That what happens, they stop for the pedestrian in that first lane. However, there is room for a car to get around. And cars that are behind the car that has stopped come around
Yes.
and almost hit the people that are crossing. Maybe a blinking light there might be a suggestion. I will talk with the chief and see what his suggestion, it's a county road.
It's a county road. It's not,
I mean, putting up
and it's a state road.
Yeah, I'm not there to witness it, I just hear it from my wife, my daughter,
I
the
hear
teachers.
it from many parishioners.
And I know people have gotten hit, trying to cross the church. 'Cause it's people doing 45, 50,
There's a
50.
priest that, they come there on
Right,
Sunday.
there's usually an officer there, because I can only tell you from my knowledge of being a crossing guard before, that as a crossing guard, that crossing guard that was there was not part of what Runnemede did. That was something affiliated with St. Teresa's. That was not,
And-
it had
and she-
originally
yeah.
been, but then at some point there
So,
was something
yeah,
that wasn't.
I'm just voicing, there's going to be another tragedy. So, I don't know what the ramifications are, who has, just like I don't, last time I was here 2 or 3 months ago, I'm just trying to find things out.
Mark,
Because I don't know if it's Runnemede, the school, the diocese,
It's always,
Glenmore.
traffic
Mark,
enforcement.
what
traffic.
happens when it's a county road and maybe we would want a blinking light there? How does that work?
You can ask the county can
The
decide what.
blinking light where the crosswalk is by the school, that's where they're having all the trouble.
Not just there, they have it in the corner.
But you see,
But the complaint that came to me by several people on parishioners was in the crosswalk
Yeah,
area.
but there's a crossing guard there that you stop when she's
No,
there.
there's.
No, they kind of throw vulgarities
I
at
know
it.
there's
and
a
drive
lady there,
by.
I stop my car.
Well, at church on Sunday, there's no one there. And there's hundreds of people that cross there.
But the issue
It
is
is
it's
a
caused by people stopping to let their kids off to go.
It's aggravating.
Right.
So yeah, some of the parents don't help, but you take away the parents blocking the shoulder and people are still ignoring the crossbar when she was there. I don't know if she's there anymore, but people are just, there's going to be another, it's not a if, it's a when. It could be tomorrow, it could be 2 years. So I would appreciate as a parent and just.
Well, you can see that if it's a county road, we're kind of restricted what we can do because it's not our road. And
Again, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, food for thought.
Anything like a light or something would be outside of our jurisdiction. Enforcement of traffic laws are responsibility of our police department and our county. But I hear what you're saying, that people are parking illegally, and that added to the problem. So if the police come out and start doing what the police have to do, lots of people could get ticketed. But I'm sure.
As in someone getting run over.
Make sure that the police department.
Let's have a
Are they allowed to stop in front of the church right there and drop the kids off?
I'm not there to witness where they're doing it and where they're not doing it. I just know, like, again, my wife says, people spit at the crossing guard, they say vulgar things to them, they ignore them, and they're flying down 40 miles an hour. So, and I've known people, that's school. I've known people got hit crossing for church where there's no crossing.
there's no one there.
At least on the Saturday night.
On
So,
Sunday morning, and there is no one there.
that was just kind of a tangent thing that popped into my head while I'm here. Last thing, St. Teresa, as the sports director, and it was prior to my tenure, I'm advised, last year we rented the Harry William buildings at a certain fee, and this year it went up 400%. So not even health insurance and college tuition goes up 400%. So if there's a mechanism that we could try to work that down to closer to the original, even if it's a 200% increase, I would appreciate it. And, obviously I'm not looking for an answer here, but I just want to throw that out in public.
Well, the reason behind the increase was the fact that there was no increase for so many years. So we had to justify paying the bills and justifying having people there to open and close it, and that's how we came up with the price. The fact that it's a 400% increase is...
$5. It's $5.
Yeah.
I'm playing math here.
It's $5.
It was still 400%.
Yeah. So there's
400%.
there's no legal.
The heater that we're putting in right now is $16,000.
Because it was an ordinance, and there's no, we can't,
There's no way.
we can't change it, because it was a past ordinance. So it's not like we could work out some, that's the criteria we passed, and it's the criteria we got to stay with.
For now, you can't take another ordinance and change it. Like, I think they repealed prohibition years ago. Thank God they did. But
If we have more involved, then we think
Mike,
about it.
it did go up 400%, but, all right, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, Penny Candy. Someone else is getting-
Look, our initials are the same.
There is a Gloucester County special crossing the school kids every morning.
There wasn't special.
there is one there.
You have to come in.
Not in church,
Not in church, they're talking about church days.
It's okay.
Do you want to come up, please, sir? Come up to the mic.
Also, was a little subject.
Whenever they're crossing guard there, there was a, John Kelly, 756 West Third.
Thank you.
There was always a Gloucester Township police officer there.
On Sunday morning, too.
Well, I'm talking about, I know, there used to be. I haven't seen any lately. But I'm saying, whenever that crossing guard in front of the school entrances, there's always a Gloucester Township police officer. So I don't think that has anything to do with Runnemede then. I crossed one, but I'm working right now as a crossing guard. I worked at the Democrats Club in the afternoon. I crossed one St. Teresa's girl. And she's very nice, but she always checks. But I'm just saying, there's always an officer there when that crossing guard is not on duty or she's out.
They do.
Like on Sundays though? No. Not all the time. Sometimes I've got two. then they don't have
At the
none.
light,
At the light, by the bank.
but not at the crosswalk.
Well,
That's where they're having the problem.
All right, thank you.
I like that. Have a motion. Somebody else coming up? Can I have a motion to close the good and welfare portion of the meeting?
I make a motion to close the good welfare portion of the meeting. I second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Adjourned.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.